Hello, hello, hello. This is the 37th episode of the Mental Threads podcast. This is your host, Toasty. I'm here with Mr. Shaun Andrews, if you'd like to say something.
Greetings, this is Shaun Andrews. Brother, I appreciate you letting me be a part of this and look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely appreciate you for actually making time to get on and everything. I know you got a couple things going on. I think you've spoken about expanding some type of mental health clinic in Kentucky, if you'd like to expand more about it.
Yeah, sure. So I am a partner in a mental health agency, Andrews Counseling and Consulting. So we have 3 locations here in North Carolina, and we are expanding into Kentucky. So basically, I lead the expansion and the growth into Kentucky. Right now, we just inked a deal with Fayette County Public Schools, so we're going to be providing care to the 42,000 students there. The next city will be Louisville, Kentucky. We're hiring therapists. We just hired 2. We're going to be expanding from there. So the goal is to provide culturally specific care, so black and brown therapists for black and brown children.
Okay, cool. That's wonderful. Because I know you, especially it's pretty hard for minorities, especially children, to actually get and seek the counseling that I feel like a lot of us actually, not in a sense deserve, but maybe in a sense probably need a whole lot. There's a whole lot of traumas that can grow than, being in this country, whether it be like whatever background you're from. We all have different struggles, and it's good to find like maybe somebody to confide in that kind of relates to your struggle and everything. I think I just set myself up with the therapist. I think my first appointment is going to be on the 29th and everything. And sometimes I specifically find I try to seek out African-American therapists, not in the sense because I want to be discriminatory or whatever, because it's good to kind of switch it up. I feel like I've always had therapists that are just kind of Caucasian, which is not a problem. They're all good in what they're doing and everything. But I always want maybe somebody I could speak to that has more that can relate to me more, on experience wise. I feel like we all have there are certain levels, not in a sense levels, but certain insights on how we live our lives and just the pressures that we have to deal with in society that I don't feel like a lot of us kind of relate to, and human beings or whatever. The experience is just different from all of us. I understand that you have relatives that work in the clinical mental health field.
Yeah, so my partners are Dr. Anthony Andrews and Dr. Travis Andrews. So our dads are brothers. We grew up together. So we definitely are in this together, man. And, to your point, I think finding a therapist that has a background close to yours really helps out a lot. Nothing wrong with having a therapist who's white, but there are some things that, they just won't get. So, for instance, a white woman may not know about what it means to be a black man, the stress that we feel watching our brothers being killed on television all the time, or, being stopped by a cop, all these different things. They can sympathize, but they really don't know. And I think whenever you're looking for someone to provide you answers and to kind of see through exactly what's going on with you, I think having somebody from that same background is critical.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I definitely can understand that for certain. I don't think I've had my first African-American male teacher till middle school. I think 7th grade. I think his name was Mr. Shaw. He taught world societies. He was just he was just a teacher basically, but it was just it was new to me. But also I feel like the relationships I had with black teachers in high school were a lot different. I recall I know this isn't pretty much the same as counseling, but in a sense with teachers you're basically kind of counselors to a degree and everything, because you are counseling and nurturing our sense of self-discovery and just learning in general. There are 2 people I recall. Dr. Reginald Flannery, I think his birthday was just the other day. I think I told him happy birthday on Facebook. Yeah, we're friends on Facebook. And Mr. Murray, I recall 2 experiences. I recall usually I was pretty much isolated to myself. I recall a lot of the time. And when I had a very stressful day, I went to Dr. Flannery and everything in regards to just everything I was dealing with. And as I was confiding with them, before then I just saw him as just another teacher, a principal's assistant. But until we actually spoke with each other, it kind of felt like he was kind of like an uncle in a sense. He was just kind of speaking to me like a relative. like, it was just like just giving him insight, giving me insight, just like, hey, he was that kid in school that just kind of like stayed to himself also, or just like, kind of fell out with a lot, wasn't really too popular or whatever. And he just gives you a sense of just like, years later on, a lot of that stuff isn't even gonna matter. And even with Mr. Murray's case, from what I recall, I had him for like, I think it was some type of chemistry class at first, but after that, before that, he was just like a substitute teacher and everything. So it's like I had him for multiple times as a substitute before becoming a main teacher, and then like afterwards, I didn't have him in the class, but I saw him around. Sometimes he would get fed up with me after class, because I would stay to myself a whole lot and stand way in the back and everything, when I should be up the front waiting for my rides and something like that. Until one day, and this is like after when I have like his classes and everything, like this is like the last year of school and everything. He pulled me aside and he noticed like, hey, like why didn't you go to prom or whatever? Like I didn't see you at prom. And it's just like, oh yeah, Mr. Murray, it's nothing. Because I didn't really have any friends to go with or any dates to go with, so I just like, I didn't really see it as anything worth my time or whatever. And he just kind of pulled me aside and everything. We had this conversation. He told me like, hey, when I first saw you, when I first spoke to you, like as a substitute teacher, and heard you pretty much speak in class, I'd be like, oh wow, he speaks very, very well. Seems like he's really going places and everything, And we were just talking for a little bit, and then like on the last note, he actually said like, hey, just keep pushing, keep trying and everything, no matter what. And when you're a handsome brother, you can always make it through life. And it's like I always held that. It's just very, very. I always hold that like in my heart when I move forward in life, because I'd be like, sometimes I feel like I hold a very low opinion of myself and everything. But it's just like I have to keep in mind that there are others watching me, who have a belief in me and my abilities that I do not see, and so on. So it's just I feel like only like a black teacher would have done that. Other my teachers used to pull me out of class and say I was like a waste of time and stuff of that nature, but only like teachers like Mr. Murray or Dr. Flannery that actually believed in me as me. There are other teachers too, like beyond race, that which they're pretty good teachers to me and everything. Mr. Gershio, Miss Mills, Miss Van Dusen, Miss Sinclair, actually, Mr. Sinclair, and the list goes on, Mr. Angel and everything. But it's like those two, it's just like I feel like were very, very important to me in my development, because my father wasn't very present in my life at that moment. So it's just like to have a male presence to actually like kind of uplift you, in a sense, is very important to me at that time. But as I digress and everything, in regards to pretty much like your family being pretty inclusive or pretty much interested in like the mental health field and whatnot, what actually gained your interest in the education as a whole, sir?
Yeah, so really seeing the condition that we're in as Black people, particularly how I would see the level that we were on regarding our Black and brown kids, specifically the young men. I'm about results. I'm about doing things, and so many people just talked about, these kids are so bad, these Black boys, they don't have anything going on, but they never wanted to do anything. I've never been into like any type of just fluff or just people just talking. I'm about action. And so I got into education because I said, well, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to be about it. I'm going to do something. And that's the same thing that led me to mental health, because even in, being an instructor at North Carolina Central, I've taught at the community college level. I've taught at the middle school level. I see the overarching hindrance to a lot of success is mental health. Our Black and brown children deal with a lot of trauma, which keeps them from, being able to really grab hold to education. And so, I said, man, we have to make sure that we are freeing their minds so they can be accepting of this knowledge. And so that led me to what I do now. So.
And that's wonderful that we have people like you out here that actually put an emphasis on the importance of mental health as a whole. I too struggle with forms of mental health myself, especially with anxiety and depression. It's starting to get a little bit worse now at this age, which is weird. I thought by now it would just kind of like get over itself and just pretty much just go on its way and everything. But things just don't go away on their own. basically there's certain actions you have to do and everything, and I feel like the only thing I need to work on is really just working on my response to my feelings and everything of that nature. Like for instance, today I didn't even get out of bed till like way later, like till 2 o'clock today and everything, before I even came here and everything. And then it's just like, like depression and anxiety, like, for instance, even my anxiety, for instance, when I look back in the past and everything, see how it's going to affect my future and stuff of that nature, things like that, it would get so bad that it's like, my heart would start to palpitate so bad, like even when I'm laying down, so bad that I could feel like the pain rush up my neck and my upper back. So it's like it becomes mental and physical as a whole too, just loss of energy. You're not really keeping up with a lot of the stuff, your assignments and stuff of that nature. And it's just like I feel like I'm working diligently this semester and this like pretty much just to fight it in a sense, so I can pull through and actually graduate. Because I feel like that's my biggest pillar right now, and I'm just trying to keep in contact with my instructors to see if they can work with me. A lot of them are very supportive and work with me. That's one of the best things about coming to an HBCU, is that it's just that if I would have gone to a PWI, I don't even feel like I would have even survived. Whereas like an HBCU, I feel like they would have given more leg room to actually succeed and actually make it, because they know that life happens. There are certain struggles we all have to deal with and stuff of that nature. So it's like, to know that there's actually staff like you that are actually like among us and everything is very important, especially going into this next stage of our lives. Like y'all grew up in a time where y'all didn't really have stuff like social media, things like keeping up with people that are just like that we don't even talk to no more and everything like that. It's very torturous to the mind, and it's hard for a lot of folk to kind of let things go, and it can be very counterproductive and counterintuitive also for the sake of one's success and progress in life, as just as individuals to general. And I feel like that's a lot of things that our generation has to deal with and stuff of that nature. It's good to actually take some time, maybe get off social media after a while, really focus on yourself, see what you got to do. And when it comes to things like, hold on one second, is somebody calling me? Hold up. Who is calling me right now? Yeah, sorry, it was just a scam likely appearance. But anyway, just stuff of that nature. Yes, it's very, very important to have people such as yourself within the educational sphere that actually focus on stuff like mental health and stuff of that nature. And if I were to ask you, it's like, what really led you into like stuff like the Mensa Achievement Center and stuff of that nature?
Again, so my work with Black men it's been a lifelong thing of mine. So so when I was in college, I played football at Winston-Salem State University, and I studied political science. And a group of friends and myself, we got together and we started something called the God, why it just slips my mind. It's called like Black Men for Change. So we started an organization, and basically we started it because we saw the lack of guidance in the community in regarding Black male success. And from there, I went into corporate management. Even when I was in corporate management, I was able to mentor Black men, young Black men who were, in the company. And then from there, that's when I got into education. And again, I just saw the lack. Like, we need strong Black males in education for our children, teaching our children, guiding our children. And there weren't people doing it, so I just said I would do it myself. Like, I am not a person who is all about the look of a thing. I'm about results. So I said, man, I'm just going to do it myself. And so that's kind of what led me to here, and also led me to what I do now.
Okay, wondrous. That's very wonderful, and everything. I know even Dr. Umar Johnson spoke from time to time, and the reason why I bring this up is because I know you mentioned it's just like, it'd be kind of weird having like a female therapist for like a Black male one. We could have people that relate to us more. I know like Dr. Umar has spoken. It's just like how Black boys are like, as they grew up, are just kind of open to like have to submit to like their wife to white woman and everything in terms of education, and how it's just like the way like a white woman is going to deal with like a Black boy is going to be very counterproductive as how like a Black man would deal with like a Black boy. Like, and I understand, like, do you feel like maybe it'd be best to have like more Black male teachers in elementary school, maybe as like teachers and everything of that nature, or is it just like, or do you just feel like the role should just probably stick to just maybe just the females and stuff?
I think there should be Black male schools, period. I think there should be schools that are led by black men, founded by black men, and have black male students. Um, I think the majority of the staff should be black men. Of course, I do think there should be black women in there as well, but the majority should be black men. Right now, we have and a lot of people would disagree with that, but the challenge I would say, well, if you look at the current model of education now, it is dominated by women, dominated by white women, and so we seem to not have an issue with that now. So I think the what needs to happen, like I said, is education, conducted by black men. So that would be my solution. I mean, you can look at Morehouse on the college level and see the excellence that they push out year over year over year, and I think the model could be the same in middle and high school as well.
Oh yes, most definitely, surely. Like take it from me and everything. Like I was pretty much raised within my adolescent years, predominantly with the single mother household and everything, which I feel like also is just not very helpful. Not to pretty much not trying to sneak this or nothing like that, but it's just like in terms of just like trying to think like a man, carry yourself as a man and stuff of that nature. It always felt like at times it's just like I don't want to say it was draining in a sense, but it was just like I feel like a sense of masculinity when growing up. I feel like I had to kind of redefine it for myself and try to figure everything out on my own a lot. So, it was especially bad when it's just like I didn't really have my father around. It was mostly just like my mother's like boyfriend who tried to like kind of like step within my boundaries and stuff of that nature and try to boss me around and stuff of that nature. And it's just like I don't feel like it was very helpful either. I just feel like in society sometimes I feel like in this society in particular, I feel like black male masculinity isn't really appreciated unless it's really like just in the form of like, okay, athletics or in the forms of high status or material things and stuff that just seem to pretty much to reflect the value of a black male. And if we had to put up against like how masculinity is pretty much nurtured within our white male counterparts, it always feels like white males are always like pretty much accepted for everything they were. For anything, they could be like geeks, or they can be like nerdy, or they can be athletic, or they can be jocks, they can be whatever. And then it's just there's always a place. Whereas like I feel like for black males, I feel like there's always like this picture that we always had to fall in sync with. And if you did not fall in sync with this picture, you were always like pretty much, I don't want to say pushed out or whatever, but it was always became much of a struggle for you when it came to like day-to-day interactions and stuff of that nature. It always became a struggle if you didn't really fall in sync with a certain picture. So it's just like, what are your thoughts in regards to things like that?
Yeah, man, I think black. I just think people in general shouldn't be put in silos. You can be black and be other things. My whole life I've rejected that idea of having to be one thing. I'm a black man, but I love country music. I love rock. I love rap. I love R&B. I love jazz. I go to the museum. I fish. I make wine. I rehab furniture. I do what I want to do. I am not constrained by what people think of me. And I think a lot of times we push that on young men, and especially older black men do the same thing, where we have to say, well, you have to play sports, or you have to do this, or you're not a black man, or, oh man, you don't do this. And it really causes the young men who are creative to push themselves into a cocoon, and a lot of times kind of retreat into their minds, and it causes sadness and feelings of not belonging because they haven't been accepted, especially by their peers and older black men. And so I would just say, we should push to everyone, especially young black men, to be yourself. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. Whatever you want to do, you should do that, because being human is not subject to one thing. And black, there is no concrete definition for black. There's no concrete definition for being from the South. You make a determination on how you want to live, and then you do it freely. But that's very hard in this day and time, especially with social media and wanting to belong to groups. So I would say to everyone, be a rebel and be yourself.
Okay, well, that's a cool way to look at it for sure. I know I know you bring up social media now, but I always feel like social media, in a sense, although like there is some toxicity that comes with it, I feel like it kind of shows like an open mindedness and everything, compared to like how things are now and how they used to be. Like I feel like a lot of this started even like with Kanye West, in a sense, like when he put up a graduation against 50 Cent's Curtis album. Everybody was more focused on gangster rap and everything of that nature, thugged out type stuff like that, and then you come in with Kanye West that comes up with just like, oh, he's just a regular guy from Chicago, but he has things to say of himself, and he has a very artistic way of expressing himself, and thus he kind of pretty much blew down the doors for other people like the Tyler the Creators, even the Uzi Verts, and all sorts of things, because they have to uphold an image of being like a threat or being a gangster or being whatsoever was kind of knocked down, and thus like it became more open to pretty much of all things of self-expression. So it's just like, I feel like people like Kanye West are pretty important too. But it's like, yeah, if I had to like pretty much start like with my own family or whatever, like, I had children that were pretty much focused on more alternative things, or whether they're focused on athletic things, I would just be more like supportive in the sense of just like, just be the best you can at whatever you can do, instead of just kind of pushing it down, because then you could really make something with it. And I feel like even like for my case, even growing up, you going over like African parents and stuff like that nature, they automatically have like this sense like, hey, you need to like become like a doctor, a medical doctor or something. Like, how many doctors do we all need in the family?
Mm-hmm.
And everything, although like they mean well, like, yeah, it's good to get jobs, but in order to nurture this within a child, I'll admit, even as a kid, I thought I wanted to be a doctor myself, because it's just like, because I always had an interest within biology and science in regards, and I always wanted to be like my father in a sense. So it's just like, like my father kind of represented that apex. It's just like, I need to get like that. If I want to be able to live well and be respected, I need to be educated. I need to get like that. But then like you start to see things, like with the divorce and just how things kind of fall apart. It's just like you have this sense of just like, okay, I don't think maybe they were all that happy with themselves. And it's just like, after that, I was just kind of seeking happiness. And it's just like, I just kind of fell out. I don't want to say I fell out of love when it comes to biology or anything like that. If I were to choose to go and consider going to medical school, I might consider it, but it's just like, I would just have to take a lot of drawback to actually relearn and actually like get deep into the matters again if I ever considered to go that route. But it's like, yeah, it's just like that. I went deeper into poetry, stuff of that nature. And at the same time, like my mother was always the type to be like, oh no, you can't do this no more. You can't be like with this rap thing. And it always used to irk her, which is like, it was so weird, because it was one of the things that was really helping with my depression growing up, was going into music and stuff of that nature. I would even say like music in a sense of rap and hip hop really saved my life, which really pushes me to like have to want to drop music and do stuff of that nature. I dropped my mixtape in April. And it's just stuff like that. I don't really, in a sense, want the fame. The money would be pretty nice, but it's just like, in a sense, but it's really just giving back to a medium that really gave me a reason to keep pushing and stuff of that nature. So it's like, like if anybody else would have like put on my music in the future or anything, and be like, oh yeah, this made me want to get up and try again or keep pushing, it's just like just stuff like that. I feel like everything has come full circle. A lot of people whom like maybe want to go against like whatever I want to accomplish or whatever may think otherwise, and think like, oh yeah, he probably just wants to get money or get this, or just wants to be like or whatever. But no, it's just giving back to a medium. That's pretty much my big mission statement when it comes to that. Just giving back to a medium that did me well. And it's just stuff of that nature. One of my biggest regrets is not going to Northwest in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is focused on the arts, because I was actually pretty good in acting too and stuff like that. It's like, I feel like if I would have focused more on like everything I had my strengths of and everything, maybe it's just like I could make much more of it by this age. But it's like, it's just one of those things. Like, I'm still young. I could probably still go back to acting school if I wanted to. I could probably still do whatever you wanted, like if you wanted to. It's just a matter of just really just investing into that. Just like how I'm investing in this podcast right now. But it's just like, yeah. If we had, you still got the topics, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I wanted to speak to you in regards to like the matters of like fatherhood and stuff of that nature. I know it's like from the looks of it, it seems like you probably had a pretty good relationship with your father, and it's just like, how would you carry that in regards to just like how you're gonna raise your daughter and how you're basically trying to carry it for generations? Like, you kind of see like it starts with you in a sense.
Yeah. So my relationship with my father, he was always very intentional with raising us to be morally sound young men, to work hard and to treat people well. And I'm doing the same thing with my daughter. My dad, I just talked to him today. He has always been a foundation in my life, and I've always pointed to that as being something that allows me to be sure of myself. There's not I can remember even times when I, played sports, or, even when I got a football scholarship to attend college, and, he was always there. And I understand the power of that. And even with my daughter, as much as I travel, as much as I do, I see her every week. I, will go by, in the middle of the week and take her flowers. I bought her a teddy bear last night to take to her today. Like, I always am intentional about seeing her, because I know we need our fathers and our mothers. And so fatherhood is critical for a child. And that's why I'm really hard on men who are not fathers or who are not doing what they're supposed to do. I think, we owe it as a responsibility. And even for men who, are not fathers, or are able to mentor young men and be a fatherhood role model, I think that should be done as well. So I just think it's critically important.
Oh no, definitely. Intentions are severely what's needed in terms of just seeing the same results that you speak of. Also, it all comes down to intentions, and I feel like some people aren't even really focused on or intending on really just trying to build the next generation to what it needs to be. And I know there's like sense of this idea of toxic masculinity, which I feel like in one hand it's like, okay, yeah, there's some truth to it, and on another hand I just feel like it's just a sense to depower the importance of masculinity. Because it's just like, at the same token, toxicity is with everything, addiction to anything, that's toxicity. To be obese, in a sense, is kind of toxic, because you're not really like focusing on your body. There could even be sense of toxic femininity if we were to discuss it, but it's just like, it's all really just a matter of just how you want to see it. It's just all a matter of behavior and just how you perceive it. Like, masculinity, I feel, is very positive. It's positive to actually, be able to stand for yourself, set boundaries, focus on your self-growth. But that's only like one way you see it. When people think about masculinity, you think about just being the strongest, or just having slept with this amount of women and doing this or that nature, and it's very twisted, but also very skin deep at the same time. I feel like masculinity is also just like a matter of just really showing compassion, showing intellect, showing strength of character, and also showing like compassion to others, being able to emphasize with others the pains of others, and so on and so forth. Oh no, it's fine. And it's just stuff of that nature, but it's just like, at the same token, it's really just a matter of just how much we in a sense invest into that perception and so on. I think I spoke about it with Love Watley. I don't know. You remember Love, right? Yeah. She was on another episode. If you want to just look it up and check out that episode, I know she even spoke about like how like black men are usually portrayed as being like deadbeats and just like stuff of that nature. They don't really like pretty much portray us as also being loving fathers, supportive husbands, and very, very high value people in the community, or educated and stuff of that matter. It's very rare nowadays. So it's just like, what do you think we need to do, or what steps do you feel like we need to take as a society to really rebuild the image of the black man within society?
We need to humanize the black male image. I think from us being characterized as brutes, hypersexual. Even within our own culture, we put those and reinforce those characteristics within ourselves through our music, especially. I think that again, we need to allow black men to be human, to live freely, and we need to be intentional about how they are raised, especially regarding having fathers. If you have a son, be a father to that son. Women, if they have a son, find him a mentor or role model who is a black male that he can model himself after. There are toxic things that say like that women will say, okay, well, I don't need a man. He doesn't need his father. That was very, very toxic. So we just need to be more intentional about it. But also, with our young men, we need to push personal responsibility. I always tell people there's no such thing as Superman, so nobody's going to come and save us. We have to have a hand in saving our own lives. And so we have to be intentional about, what our lives look like and what success we want, and just understand that, hard work and grit are necessary to achieve those things. So, just again, pushing ourselves to understand what we need as a people, and then giving us the freedom, giving black men the freedom to, become who they are supposed to be, and expecting them to get to those levels.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I know it's just like when black men are usually raised. I spoke about this with my counselor not too long ago. He pretty much pointed this out when I spoke with him in regards to my situations like growing up, and he pointed out like one thing that's like I didn't really get until he said it. Like he pretty much said it's just like, hey, well, when you get through a lot of these struggles, it seems you practically just raised yourself in a sense. So it's like when I look back, it's like yeah, because it's like I noticed that it's just like I was the individual to be a little bit more emotionally available to friends who probably weren't emotionally available to me or were not really there for me. I usually take it upon myself to take priority to ensure everyone else's well-being before my own. And it's just stuff like that. Even in regards to even my brother and everything, I always try to make sure his priorities were put above my own, which I really don't mind because it's my younger brother. Basically, you're basically a surrogate parent. Regardless, no matter how big the age gap is or how small it is, you instantly become a surrogate parent to a certain degree and stuff of that nature. But it's like when I look back, it's like there were points where it's like where I wanted to be like, kind of like put on, not on the pedestal, where I want my needs met to a certain degree. Where it's like, okay, like for instance, like in 8th grade, I was bullied maliciously and everything. I always felt the need to like leave that school and everything. I always felt like I had to beg just to leave. And it's like I wasn't able to leave due to reasons. It's just like that I wouldn't really want to get too deep into, but it was always like a barrier and everything, and I always felt like I had to settle for a lot of things over life, in regards to like disrespect, stuff of that nature. You just settle for everything because you have this sense of mindset for yourself that you don't deserve anything. So it's just like in one hand, on a positive note, I learned to have more empathy for others, but at the sour note, it's just like I ain't really hold myself to a high regard, which led me wide open to have to deal with all types of harassment and stuff of that nature. So it's just like it all comes from the home at the same time, and then it's just like I feel like there be points where it's just like I feel like a lot of black women in society who hold bitterness against the father tend to take it out like on the children and stuff of that nature. And it's just like you see it, like I know you've watched Boys in the Hood, with the relationship with like Doughboy and his mother, and how like Ricky always felt like was favored by his mother over Doughboy. And the craziest thing when I watched that movie is like I felt like I related to the character of Doughboy so extraneously just because of that. And it was just so weird. Like, why is that like such a normal? Because it's like if I were to even like get like with like one woman and we have a child, whether it be a daughter, and it's like I have issues like with my baby mom or whatever, I would never like even work for my daughter to look at her mother in a negative light, or even feel like she has to pretty much carry the burdens of what she done or whatever we disagree about, whatever. It's just like, children are like probably like the most like innocent aspect of the whole equation. So it's like, why even bother even like, punishing them or trying to see if you can mold them or whatever to your whim or however. It's just like, why is it so common in our society for this like to happen?
Yeah, I think having examples, man. We can look at the breakdown in the family. I think it's a lot to it. And man, everybody needs therapy. I think we are people, man, where we need to understand that we have a lot of trauma, and a lot of us are broken, and so you know a lot of things need to be fixed, and we need to understand. Because I was talking to somebody earlier, and I was saying that a lot of times Black people, we hate self-correction. And we need to understand, even as mothers and fathers, that, hey, we need to check ourselves. Like, how do we raise our children? How do we educate them? Were we advocates for them? Did we properly protect them? And a lot of these things that go on with our children are we're the cause of, or at least we could have done something about it. So, yeah, man, I think, again, man, back to mental health and having those examples.
That's yeah, most definitely, most definitely, and everything. How do you feel like the relationships between parents and like their children? How do you feel like it affects their relationships like with others and everything? Like in your own words, for instance, because it's like I know it's like I feel like the relationship with my mother, in a sense, has pretty much reflected a lot of my relationships with women moving forward. I feel like I have a huge issue with like being vulnerable because I pretty much attribute vulnerability with a sense of just pain and anguish, So it's just like, it's in a sense putting up boundaries and keeping my distance was always a way for me to pretty much safeguard myself from being harmed. But also, in a sense, coming from that type of upbringing and everything where trust issues and stuff of that nature are pretty much prevalent, I feel like it leads you to trusting in people way too much, which pretty much leads you into like the same dilemma of like really being hurt over and over again, because you can't trust people too much and you can't just cut off from people too much. So it's really just a matter of just like you don't want to get hurt, but you don't want to be isolated at the same time. In my case, so it's just like yeah. Like, what are your thoughts in regards to like relationship with parents and their kids, in regards to their relationships with friends, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the foundation that your parents set for, like, how you communicate, emotions, even love. That's going to lay a foundation for how you deal with people outside of the house. So if you are distrusting or you are used to trauma with your parents, then it's going to be the same thing that spills over into your relationships. I think that's one of the same. That's why I think it's important that people understand that whenever you make a child and you have a child, that there's a responsibility to make sure they're good human beings and they are healthy and whole human beings, because it's so important. And like you said, our relationships that we have with our parents give us a foundation with how we see the world. So again, we have to make sure that we are personally responsible for that.
Yeah, man, that's one way to look at it. That's a whole lot of ways to look at it. In transition and everything, I know on the topics and everything, I know you pretty much. How old are you right now, Mr. Andrews? Just asking.
41.
41. Okay, cool. So that's enough time to ask. If you had to pretty much ask yourself from like what you know and everything that you know right now at the age of 41 in regards to like who you were and what you were, how you carry yourself at the age of 21 and everything. How do you feel like your mindset has changed over the years and just how you carry yourself as an individual?
I have accepted who I am more. Maybe at, I think, 20, 21 years old, I still had a type of a herd mentality. I kind of cared what people thought. And it led some of my decisions. Now I live for me. I am totally happy. I always tell people when I wake up in the morning, I love my life. I love everything that I do. I do everything that I want. I don't do anything I don't want to do. I work for myself. I don't have a boss. So I have the stress that I have in my life is the stress that I create. And so that makes life a whole lot more manageable. But I think to get there, I know that to get there, it took a lot of internal warfare. And I had to fight through a lot of things, and even like my decisions of like why did I decide certain things? So, yeah, my mindset changed to just accept who I am, and who I am got me to this point. I think if I would have tried to be someone else, I would not have been here.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. That's a whole other way to look at it, and that's crazy how like your early 20s is just like it's so focused on just thinking about what others think and everything. I know that's a streamline to like a lot of my anxiety as a whole. Like even when as soon as I wake up, it'd be so crazy. I'd be just going to bed and just thinking about like all the mistakes that you made up to this point and everything, or whether it's going to like be something that might bite you in the back later on in life and everything. You know, like I have my sleeping patterns. I feel like it's being affected by this to a certain degree. I would like go out for a run like at 11, be tired, come back, go to bed like at 11:30 or 12, wake up really early like at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning and stuff, and then have like a little bit of energy and everything, and then it's just like, you know, mostly from the heart palpitations, and then it's just then I go back to sleep, and then I have like no energy at all, and it's just like it's such a weird, and this has happened so many times over the past couple weeks, so it's just like, you know, it's just one of those things I need to really like fall out of, and stuff of that nature. And it's just like yeah, man, it's just like, do you feel like it might be like a little bit harder for like our generation as a whole, considering like social media and everything? Like, do you feel like there's some barriers that might like get us out of this mindset of herd mentality or trying to be people pleasing and stuff of that nature? Like, and if so, like what steps do you feel like would take to really just kind of like, you know, counter that from as an individual and to general?
Yeah, I think it's so difficulty is a state of mind. Anything. There's this term that I love. It's or not a term, it's a saying. It is nothing human is foreign to me. So we have access to more information. It is us accepting that information and kind of putting that label on our lives, which makes it appear difficult. But if you reject those things, then it won't be difficult. I think whenever we still have a desire to be accepted by people who have no need for us, we do develop those. It does become harder for us because we're always seeking validation. But I think if self-love was the focus of every person, then it would become a lot easier. It would become a lot simpler to free yourself from wanting validation from others. I will go to Duke Gardens, I'll walk in the park, I'll go to a museum by myself because it's things that I enjoy doing. And it's because I love myself and I know that I deserve happiness. And, you know, I just don't look for validation from any other folks. And so I would tell younger folks, you know, go to war with yourself and break free from those chains and love you, because nobody will ever love you as much as you were able to love yourself.
Oh yes, most definitely, surely. Yeah, man, self love is such a it's such a hard. I don't want to say it's hard in a sense. I just feel like it really just depends on really what you're exposed to over the years too. Like if you have like if you have an environment where like you come up and it's just like there's always something wrong with you, or there's always something like somebody had to make a comment or whatever, whether if it be family members or your peers and whatnot. If you have a strong mental, have a whole lot of mental strength in regards to that, you know, you can pretty much breeze through it and be like, you know, whatever, like I like myself, I think I'm the shit or whatever like that. So it's just like whatever somebody says about me, let it be so. But it's just like at the same time, I feel like, you know, what if you were like put into like an environment where you're surrounded by folk that it's just like that, like in a sense protect your energy or appreciate or value you as an individual regardless and whatever. And even if you do have haters or stuff of that nature, it's always good to like have a good basis of positivity to counter a lot of that negativity. Otherwise it can pretty much be draining to you. So it's like, what are your like what are points of advice you can give to anybody that's probably like maybe stuck in like in a circle of adversity, or maybe around a crowd that isn't good for them, or just stuck like at a job they don't want to be at, or just in general, just what is your like advice in regards to just like pretty much getting out of that circle of negativity?
Yeah, I would say seek peace. And a lot of times, peace means divesting from situations that are chaotic. So whether it be friend groups, whether it be what environment you're in, sometimes you have to remove yourself from those things to find peace, and then do some self-talk, like talk to yourself, and also think. We are gifted with minds to think for a reason. We should never let anyone think for us. And for me, I connect with nature. That is how I get my ideas. That is how I find peace. Like I said, man, I'll go to a park in a minute and sit on the bench and just watch the leaves. My daughter, I take my daughter, and we'll go and we'll just sit on the bench and just watch the squirrels, man. And sometimes it's just we need that, and just be ready to, like I said, go to war with yourself. Ask yourself hard questions. Why do I seek the validation of others? Why are my feelings hurt around this? And ask yourself those questions, and then wait for answers, but be ready for the answer. And again, like I said, divesting from a lot of these situations will be key. And people, even with toxicity, I just taught a class, and I was telling them sometimes even our own family members can be toxic, and we have to kind of put them at arm's length. It doesn't mean we don't love them, but to seek peace, sometimes seeking peace is a journey that you have to take by yourself. And so, and then seek wise counsel. I think that's the important thing. Seek out people who love you, who want to see you do well, and surround yourself with those people. And again, in peaceful situations, and you will definitely find your answers. But as long as you grab hold to toxicity, or seek the validation of toxic people, you would never have peace.
Oh yeah, no, truly. No, it's 100% for real, man. It's just like we're all caught up in life and everything, and the folk that we feel like we haven't chosen. You can't choose your family and everything, but you can choose your attitude and choose like how you carry yourself as an individual and who you pretty much connect with and who you pretty much circulate with and stuff of that nature. There's a whole lot of things in life that we can't control, and there's still various things that we can control: our hours, our attitude, and just pretty much our options, just stuff of that nature. There's just many things that are still very much controllable, and I feel like that's pretty much the beauty of life. At the same time, although there are things that we can't control, there are a whole lot of things in which we can. So it's just like in regards to just like where we are as a people, and just even like relationships wise and everything, what do you feel like is that main barrier for like a lot of us, like as kids, like pretty much relating to one another and everything? I know, like, I'm 23 years old, like you call myself a kid, but it's just like you still feel like a kid to a certain degree. But it's just like like really just what do you feel like really what do you feel like is the barrier for like a lot of us, like pretty much relating to each other, like man and woman, or like however, like what's really holding us back from really building something that might lead to like marriage and stuff of that nature later on in life?
Lack of communication.
As I thought.
I think our communication right now is dependent so much on external factors. Our communication has been taken over by expectations of things that are false, like social media. So, for instance, a person will watch a reality show and think, okay, well, that's how I'm supposed to deal with my mate. Or they'll look at social media and say, okay, well, that's how I'm supposed to, deal with the world around me. And it's not. We need to sit and talk to each other. And whatever comes out, don't be offended, but just understand that a lot of times people's answers or their response to you may be rooted in trauma. It may be rooted in misunderstanding. So just have clear communication with each other, and most importantly, tell the truth to each other. And, you tell the truth to a person, and let the cards fall where they may. If they don't like it, it is what it is. If they do, then you can build from there. But I always tell people, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you don't like it, that's something you have to deal with. But one thing about me, nobody can ever come to say, Mr. Andrews lied to me, ever. I will tell the truth 100% of the time. So even if it hurts me or them, I'm gonna tell my truth. So we just need to be clear with each other.
Oh yes, most definitely, most definitely. It's always good to be truthful and authentic as best we can. But in regards to like truth and authenticity and stuff, because I know like there's so many different faces that like at the same time that we all possess. I think there's like a Japanese, some kind of Japanese side that like we have a face of which we show um others. We have a face that we show like to our close friends and families, and we also have a face that we don't show to nobody and everything. Like a part of us, so like sides of us that we just don't show to anyone at all and everything. In regards to just really understanding what's the difference between what's truthful and like what's really like your own personal business and everything. Where do you feel like the line pretty much draws from there?
So you said truthfulness and
Yeah, just stuff like that's your own personal business. Just like like just like if somebody's like who you dating or who you doing this or who whatever like regards like not like that off the jump, but it's just like just in terms of just something that's just your personal business. Because some people would just really ask you questions about yourself, really just to exploit the information. Sometimes like there'll be situations where it's like even like girlfriends whatever like could be gossiping or like maybe they're telling each other something personal whatever, and the other person would just pretty much just drag it into the community or whatever in a means to like humiliate the said person that could really revolve against somebody just not pretty much opening up or whatever. It's just, you see it all the time and everything. But I'm just wondering, it's just like where's really like the line started? How do we know like pretty much like yeah stuff of that nature?
so we choose what access we allow people to have in our lives. I'm a very private person. If somebody comes up and asks me a question I know is rooted in something toxic, I can choose to tell them. I don't owe anything to anybody. So if someone comes up and asks me a question I know is highly personal and I know it's something rooted in something devious, I don't say it. I tell them it's not your business or worry about your life. Like it's so whenever we feel a duty to tell people, sometimes that we just have to shore up our strength and say, I don't owe a person an explanation for anything. You don't owe them anything. They don't pay your bills. They don't feed you. So, you know, just tell them, man, worry about yourself. I will run my life and you run yours. So
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That's a damn good way to look at it for sure, and everything. But yeah, man. Uh, what other thing? Well, what else we got on the topics? 'Cause I want to be able to make it over an hour. So this is a good episode, but it's just like
yeah. What are some of the issues you see in today's generation? I think we talked about that. Yeah, we went over everything. The last thing is final thoughts in closing.
okay. Final thoughts and closing. Okay. When it comes to like just final thoughts in regards to just in life in general and everything. Like, what are some advice you'd like to leave in points for like my audience for sure? Everything just points of advice. Just in general and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, so my advice will always seek peace in whatever you do. Lead with love in all your decisions. Always tell the truth to other people and tell the truth to yourself. And be relentless about what you want. We live in a life and we live in an age now where people want things immediately, and things aren't. Life doesn't work like that all the time. I always, use nature to teach my daughter lessons. And I remember one year she was about three years old, and we had planted a seed. And as that seed started to grow out, I always tell her, Aria, no matter how much you yell at this seed, no matter how much we wish it to grow quickly, the seed will grow and develop in its own time. And our lives are like that. Our dreams are like that. And no matter how much you stress about wanting that to have that fruit, you have to wait. Sometimes things grow in their own season, and when they do grow, it will be the exact time you need it. So I would always tell people, be patient, enjoy life at each stage of life, and be good to yourself and be good to the world. And that's it.
Okay, cool. That's wondrous. It's very much wondrous. And in general, you're pretty much gonna be like working as a teacher, like within like the HBCU sphere for like years to come, correct?
Yeah. So I will always be involved with education in some form. I am involved with some things now. Up in Kentucky in Fayette County, I actually have some talks lined up for the district schools and doing some things for the University of Kentucky. So, yeah, I'm always going to be involved, and also Kentucky State, which is a HBCU down there. So I'm always going to be involved with education in some sort of way.
And you'd pretty much recommend your daughter to go to HBCU, correct?
No, man, wherever she wants to go. She doesn't have to go to college. Period. If my daughter came and said, "Dad, I want to go to Africa for 2 years and research and be and dig the pyramids or whatever," then she can do that. I am a proponent of a person following whatever path that they deem necessary. I was told by a gentleman once, he said, "Shaun, find your own way to God." And I live by that and not putting or projecting anything on anyone. If someone told me they want to be an astronaut, I would tell them, man, good luck, and I can't wait to see you get out in space. And I believe in people. Like I said, I lead with love, and wherever she wants to go, she can go. But wherever she does decide to go, I want her to do so truthfully, and I want her to do so knowing that she has to always do right by people and leave the world better than she found it.
Oh yeah, no, I feel that. And I know you mentioned something about like God. Well, if you were to describe like in your own words, because everybody has their own they have their own theory on like what the nature of God is as a whole. Some people might think God is like maybe like a whole bunch of energies, or maybe like maybe God is just balancing the universe, or maybe God might be just like maybe a woman, for instance. It's like, how would you describe the nature and like just like whatever God is? Like, what is your reflection of what God is? And you don't have to answer if you don't feel like it, because it could be a touchy subject. But like, just how do you describe the nature of God?
Me?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, basically, how would you describe it in your own words?
Me?
Oh, you? Oh, okay. I had to wait. It's like, I don't know if you're saying me with like a question mark, or me it's like, well, you talking to me? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so even if you look biblically, it says we were created in God's image, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that means that I am it and it is me. God is love, and even in my decisions, He's intertwined within that, or he or she or whatever. I think when we get to like saying God is a gender, I think that is a very human way of looking at something that is so ethereal and something so perfect and unfathomable. So really, that shouldn't even be in the conversation. For me, God is, it is just complete. And when somebody says, what is your perception of God? It's like, what is the perception of myself? And I think that I think that I can do anything. I think that I am filled with love. I'm led by love. And when somebody asks me about God, I'm like, man, God is in me, and that's all I can say. That is what satisfies me, and I don't have to put God in a box and say a gender or white or black or whatever. So yeah.
That's actually a very good, because like even like the whole like sense of like God being like described as being like angry or jealous, or just being capable of like just flooding the earth or like punishing people and everything. I don't know. I feel like at times like when it comes to religion and everything, I feel like those are just used as objects to like try to control the masses at the same time. Like, I don't know. I feel like if God like created you as you are and everything, or however you may see it or whatever, it's just I never really see like God as being overly judgmental. It's just like how, like, at the same token, we all have free will at the same sense. So it's just like, whatever it is what it is. But I feel like God would already understand to a certain degree. And it just really, life is just really just a reflection of what experience we need to learn, and what we need to learn, or what we need to put into the universe that pretty much help other people on their journeys. Also, it's just like, I feel like in a sense, God, it was pretty much just a matter of just, it's everything intertwined, basically, kind of like a thread, like we're all connected within the universe. And thus it's just like, so any sense of trying to like put him in a box, or I keep calling him I keep him like the gender roles, but just putting God in a box is just kind of overrated, kind of asinine to a certain degree. But it's like, everyone to each his own or whatever. Would you say you're a heavy church goer, or are you just like it's whatever to you?
Nah, man. I rarely go to church. um, Nah, I used to go to church when I was growing up, man, but I rarely go to church. Now, it's not that I'm against it, but um, church is in the mind and in the people. So church with me will be me sitting down and discussing with somebody, the theory of life. When I'm with my daughter and we're in the museum and we're looking at a piece of art, that's church. So I find church in a lot of different things. So I do go to church a lot, I guess, but not traditional sense.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's one way to do it. Like some people hold Bible studies at their house and everything, so it's just like just look at whatever, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think we pretty much touched on about everything within an hour or something. Sometimes I like to go a little bit over an hour, like maybe like 10 minutes above an hour, and everything like that. How would you describe your experience with NCCU, just in regards to just everything, just that you've experienced you used to go here, right, at one point?
Yeah, I got my graduate school from here. North Carolina Central has given me a lot, will continue to give me a lot, and I owe a debt of gratitude for Central for my entire life. I will always contribute to NCCU in whatever way I can, and will make sure that I'm a resource for the university and the students here. I love my HBCU. So.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It's like, this school is like the best school I've ever come to and everything, so it's just like, I never saw myself as like an honor roll student, and I spoke about it on several episodes about it. So I feel like I need to keep emphasizing it. Just like, like everything kind of comes full circle, and I feel like a lot of the opinions of others really aren't who we are and everything. So it's just like, that's just one of the things that you really need to pull out the herd mentality, is that everyone's kind of experienced life at their own pace. The opinions of others, whatever people say, none of that really matters and everything. You say I was a waste of time, it's just like somehow I made it to being an honor roll student. It was always in me. It was just a matter of just rediscovering it. So it's just like, for anybody that's listening in, whatever gift that you have or whatever you feel like you're lacking, it's all just a construct, pretty much built upon the insecurities of others and everything, and you don't really have to invest your worries into any of that. But yeah, that pretty much does it for like the 37th episode. Yeah, this is the 37th episode of the Mental Threads podcast. I'd like to thank Mr. Shaun Andrews, and most definitely, I'm only about 13 episodes away from reaching my goal. I'm trying to reach 50 before the end of the semester and everything, and it's just like, as soon as I get that, I could probably take it up to like maybe posting everything on Spotify if I wanted to. But yes, if you have any final words, Mr. Andrews, before we go off, it'd be much appreciated.
Be great, love yourself, and love other people.
Yes, most definitely. Great words to go by. Thank you very much. This is the Mental Threads podcast. This is Toasty, someone out.